Hi, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna give my thoughts about this novel called The Inheritors by William Golding. William Golding, of course, wrote Lord of the Flies, which is considered an absolute classic. This novel was published in 1955, and it's his second novel after Lord of the Flies. It's about some Neanderthals who come across some Homo Sapiens. Homo Sapiens, of course, being the species that supposedly evolved into modern-day humans. There was some interbreeding between the Neanderthals and the Homo Sapiens. William Golding was very interested in early man, and in this novel he was trying to envisage what the situation back then would actually be like. I feel like it's a great experimental novel. This novel is written from the perspective of Loke, who is one of the Neanderthals. Some people find getting into his perspective very difficult, I think because, of course, Loke never wrote anything down. We are kind of asked to go along with his kind of unwritten perspective or point of view. Some people find it very difficult to imagine that. I'd suggest when you start reading this to focus on trying to take that point of view and don't just take it for granted that you will sink into the book. The Neanderthals are presented as gentle people who see personhood in things in nature such as the trees and fire and even ice that's shaped into human form. They obviously have respect for elders and believe in some sort of god. They are basically vegetarians doing a bit of scavenging as well. In this world there are hyenas. One feels like it's maybe based in North Africa or something and not in Britain, which is where Golding is from. Golding was a very well-traveled guy, though, so I suppose he could locate his novels exactly where he wanted to. I like the way that the ominous presence of the Homo Sapiens presents itself to us. For example, one of the group of Neanderthals goes missing, and the Homo Sapiens just come across as kind of haunting. There is quite a large section where Loke kind of spies on the Homo Sapien people and their settlement, and he clearly misconstrues what's going on. For example, he thinks that a deer is dancing when I think it's really a Homo sapien using deer antlers in some sort of display. He thinks that they are drinking from stones, but of course they can't drink from stones, they're actually cups. The Homo sapiens are clearly seen as very aggressive to Loke, who is more of a gentle creature. For example, he talks about one having a biting, sharp voice. The Homo sapiens clearly have canoes and tents, and they're just really mysteriously portrayed. In the penultimate chapter, only Far who is another member of the Neanderthal group, and Loke survive. However, in this chapter, Far dies, and Loke is seen as this red creature. This penultimate chapter is written from an omniscient point of view, which creates this distance and helps to emphasize Loke's despair and isolation. The last chapter of the novel is written from the perspective of Tuarmi, who is one of the Homo Sapiens. We hear that they are fleeing from the area in boats. The Homo Sapiens clearly regard the Neanderthals as horrible beings and dehumanize them. Quietly, of course, the Homo Sapiens are the more aggressive and nasty beings. So Golding is saying that the inheritors are, of course, the Homo Sapiens that come to be modern humans. This is in stark contrast to the Bible, where, of course, it's said that the meek will inherit the earth. So Golding is challenging the general view of the time in England. I myself think this is a fascinating novel to read, so I'd give it 4.5 stars out of 5. It's not totally perfect. In my view, a prologue would have helped people to get into the novel and know where they stood in the story. An interesting lexicon is used, and I see it as an innovative, realistic kind of novel and a great reimagining. It's the kind of novel that you can read a number of times. At the same time, I don't recommend people that don't read a lot read this, because he's breaking grammatical conventions as he's taking the perspective of Loke, who is quite a simplistic being. Those who haven't read a lot are better to read books that have great grammar, and so they can learn the rules, in my view. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.